Good morning. Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Church West. On today, Mother's Day, let's start by giving thanks to Mother Earth, who provides for us all. In this place, we occupy the traditional territory of the native peoples of the Seven Council Fires, Ho-Chunk, Kickapoo, Potawatomi, Menominee, Peoria, and Miami nations. We acknowledge our continued need to address racism, which continues to lead to the violent deaths of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. We commit ourselves to becoming an anti-racist faith community dedicated to equity, racial justice, and right relations. My name is Larry Hawley, and I serve on your Board of Trustees. Today, continuing with May's theme, The Path of Creativity, we're exploring the beginner's mind and its incredible usefulness in most every situation we find ourselves throughout our entire lifespan. It's so good to be together as a loving and evolving community, gathering in and among so many different spaces. To all of you online, know that while we can't see you, we know you are here in spirit. Wherever we are physically, our hearts and spirits are one. Here are the things to help you settle in and feel at home. If you're a newcomer, in person or with us online, and you'd like to connect further, please talk to me after the service or send an email to visitor@uucw.org. After story time, children grade 8 and younger will be invited to head off with their leaders for their own time together. All ages are always welcome in the sanctuary, and there's lots of space to spread out, anywhere on the carpet, at our worship exploration table, or in the community room just beyond those doors to the left where there's live streaming of the service. Note, we are unable to secure nursery staff on Mother's Day. The nursery is unlocked and you're free to use the space for your child if that's helpful. We will be offering a time in the service today for spoken joys and concerns. If you would prefer to put something in writing, the share side of the yellow form is available for that in your order of service. And you can put that in the offering basket. If socializing is for you, we have a coffee tea time, which will be limited to you make your own tea with the hot water dispenser in the kitchen, because we do not have the coffee available today. But you're invited to have conversation in the community room, or if you'd like a quieter space, stay here in the sanctuary, or you could go up to one of the classrooms. Today I want to highlight a couple of things which you might find printed in your order of service. Our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, Dave Cicero, is away today, and Julie Brown is our pinch hitter. So Julie's not up here right now. There she is. Thank you for volunteering and stepping in today. Reverend Julie will be away this coming week. She's returning to Canada for a conference and to deliver a lecture there. So there'll be a few days that she's literally off-grid, but mostly she'll have a phone and internet access if you need her. A couple of announcements I saw that I'd like to highlight is number 2, Micah, the Milwaukee Inner City Congregation's Allied for Hope, is having a gala event celebrating 35 years of laughter, love, and justice, Thursday evening, May 18th, starting at 5:30. It's at Mount Lutheran Church on North Avenue in Tosa, and you can register on their website to help celebrate and support Micah. Also, number 5, next Saturday, May 20th, is UUCW's Spring Cleanup. We pick up, prune, and weed. Tools are provided, but bringing your own gloves and tools make it go quicker. There is a sign-up sheet, and we ask people to go in the community room and sign up so we know how many are there. And because I can't be there, I'm going to provide some snacks. Others are welcome to provide in a different way also. It's always a privilege to explore and create meaning in the company of others. May this morning's service guide us on a path of truth and love.
Opening words are meant to invoke the Spirit, and this morning, these words of Mary Harrington call forth the spirit of mothering and love. We come together today in praise and thanksgiving for the gift of life itself. Someone gave birth to us, and some of us have given birth. All of us have been mothered in our time, and all of us have mothered. Let our time today be one of recognition that we arrive from so many places: joy and delight, wistfulness and longing and worry, unmet needs and unfulfilled dreams, loss and sorrow, loss and emptiness, loss and regret. All that life is made of, mothers are made of too. And today we sing the songs of so many: mothers who are single parents, foster parents, mothers who relinquish their young out of necessity, mothers who found their heart in adoption, mothers who left their children in 1,000 ways, mothers who rejoice, and mothers who mourn. We sing the songs of the grandmother, the auntie, the classroom teacher, the Sunday school teacher, the babysitter, the neighbor with endless cookies and time. There is a kind of love we cannot live without. It is never too late, no matter our age or situation. We sing a song of gratitude for all the moments of being known, being cherished, being found. Come, let us worship together, and we're going to begin by lighting our chalice.
Every time we gather, we kindle a flame that represents who we are and why we gather. It both holds us and guides us with the light of truth, the fire of commitment, and the warmth of community. Those of you at home are invited to light a chalice or a candle along with us. Today's chalice lighting words, printed in your order of service, were written by Melissa Jeter. Please join me in reading them. We light this chalice today to illuminate our way toward love. Inside the womb of this waiting time, we are bathed in sounds, floating in love, growing out of our comfort zone. We experience love, sorrow, pain, and joy. There is a numinous quickening as we await a new world yet unborn. With these words reminding us that we are all flames, carrying the light of hope for a new world yet to be born.
And now let's sing and dance and make music. If you want to drum or rattle or shake, head over to the worship exploration table and get an instrument. Otherwise, turn to number 1024 in the teal hymnal. You got to do what when the Spirit says do.
Spirit says sing, 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 Spirit says sing. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you gotta dance, oh Lord. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. Spirit says dance, 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 Spirit says dance. You gotta laugh when gotta laugh when the Spirit says laugh. When the Spirit says laugh, you gotta laugh, oh Lord, you gotta laugh when the Spirit says laugh. Spirit says laugh, 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 Spirit says laugh. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you gotta shout, Lord, you gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. Spirit says shout, 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 Spirit says shout. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do, oh Lord, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. Spirit says do, 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 Spirit says do. Spirit says do.
Good morning. My name is Scott Kapishke, and I am not Dave Cicero. Our story this morning is The Everything Seed, A Story of Beginnings by Carol Martinocco. Have you ever watched a seed grow? Have you ever noticed how it begins so small, so still, so quiet, like a gift wanting to be opened? And how slowly it wakes up, begins to unfold, growing into something larger, and larger, and larger. Then you know whatever comes from a seed usually ends up looking very little like the seed it came from, which is also true of the very first seed. Once, long, long ago, way back before the beginning, so long ago there was no such thing as time, because there was no one there to count it. Everywhere was a huge, deep, mysterious space, like something waiting to happen. There were no stars, no sun or moon. There was no place like Earth, not a drop of water or a single tree or rock or flower, and no living beings anywhere. But in that deep waiting space was hidden the tiniest point of something no bigger than a seed. It was not a flower seed, it was not an elm seed, it was not a seed of corn, although all those things were included in the seed. You might call it an everything seed, because that is what it became. No one knows where that first seed came from, or how it was planted, or how it knew, in the way that only seeds seem to know, how long to wait for just the right moment to sprout and grow. But all at once, this tiny seed, cradled and nourished in the rich soil of space, woke up, broke open, and began to unfold. Unfolding, unfolding, and blossoming forth into an enormous blazing ball of bright light, like a great-grandmother's sun. And the universe was born. Out fluttered the galaxies, like a storm of snowflakes swirling and gathering in the brightest, most blindingly beautiful cloud of stars. Out of those star clouds whirled our own star, the one we call the sun, and our earth and the moon, and all the round spinning planets we have learned how to name. And this is the secret of that tiny seed. You and I were there in the very beginning. Just as the idea for each leaf on a big oak tree lies hidden inside an acorn. We were there with all the stars and planets, all the rocks and oceans, plants and animals and people. Everything that is now, ever was, or ever will be, was inside that first tiny seed. So whenever you hold a seed in your hand and wonder what it could become, imagine how you and all that is here once came from the tiniest speck of an everything seed before it sprouted and grew long, long ago in the way back beginning of time. Now, if this were an ordinary story, it would end right here. But this story of the universe keeps unfolding. What once began in the blazing blossom of light continues every day. New stars sprout open in the deep soil of space. New plants and animals appear on the earth. Seeds of many kinds are scattered all over the earth to help us remember. And new people are born every day with the spark of that first light still alive and burning deep inside, waiting, like the everything seed, to shine in ways that are yet to be known.
Written by a friend of mine and colleague, Reverend Carol, who lives in Canada in the eastern provinces. So let's sing the kids off to class. I think maybe that Helen and George are going to, or maybe just Helen, is George here too, going to come light the children's chalice, and then we'll sing them off. Hey. Yay! As you go. As you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go, as you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go. We were there in the beginning with all the stars and planets, all the rocks and oceans, plants and animals and people. Everything that is, now, ever was, or will be, was inside that first tiny seed. Such a beautiful reminder of how we are part of everything, and everything is a part of us. We enter now a time for sharing of joys and sorrows and gratitudes, the things that touch our individual lives, which is another way to express and experience the many ways that we are part of each other. In a moment, you'll be invited to come to the mic to share aloud, or you can use the QR code on the order of service or the share side of the yellow slip that you got. If you'd like to speak from your seat, you can raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you. Anytime during the week, you can use the link in the e-news to let us know what's on your heart. You know, your vulnerable sharing invites others into relationships and makes the space for them to share in kind. And all that is shared calls on us to open our hearts, and opening our hearts creates deeper connections. Remember that anything you choose to share here aloud is for the ears of those who are gathered now. It won't be in the posted video of the service or shared in our e-news unless you put something in writing and tell us otherwise. Now, as this is Mother's Day, you may be moved to share something about mothering or being mothered. So let's begin by lighting a special candle for mothers or people who have mothered you in some way. I'm going to light this candle and just ask that you speak aloud any names that you would like to lift up today. And you can just speak over one another in complete spoken chaos. Those of you online may want to speak aloud too. We hear you. So now, come to the mic if you'd like to share something, or again, raise your hand if you'd like, and I'll light a candle for you, and after each sharing, we'll respond, we hold you in love. So come now, you can just form a line this side if there's a line to be formed. I also just want to mark an interesting point in history, which is that as far as known, tomorrow marks the anniversary of the first HIV death in North America, 1969. We've come a long way since then, a very hard journey. This is for all those who've been affected. Another interesting anniversary this week, a powerful one, May 17th. So what's that? This is the 14th, so Wednesday. It will be the anniversary from the year of my birth of Brown versus Board of Education. That's another very important thing to remember, and to remember how many lives that has affected and how many people have been harmed, both in the process before that decision was made and in the process after that decision was made, and may we continue on our anti-racism journey. And I also want to light a candle for those online. We know you're out there. We have kind of a skeleton crew here this morning, but typically, if you don't know, we typically have 50 to 70 people online with us every week. And so we don't see them. But we know you see us, and we see you in our hearts, and I just am lighting a candle for you, and with prayers that you may be happy and well. And finally, a candle for all that remains unspoken, the things that we hold in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. All of us have things there, and all of us need love, need care. So this is for all of us. Please join me in the spirit of prayer with these words by Eric Williams. There is light. In the beginning, there was light, infinite and expansive, flowing out from an unseen center. Throughout creation, there is light from the steady sun, the glowing moon, the flashing meteor, the twinkling stars, and the auroras dancing in the northern skies. With each part of creation, there is light, slowed down and held close by every cell and molecule, by every atom and element. Within you, there is light, the same light as the source, the same radiance that is in all creatures. May these candles be a constant reminder to you of your true kinship and your true nature, and how we are connected to all beings. So be it.
It's all I have, it's all
You know, in the beginning of online services, the people sitting up here just looked at the back of the TV. But now we have a computer screen so we can enjoy. What a beautiful song and a beautiful performance. Maybe there are times when we choose not to create, or are afraid to proceed, or can't quite get in the groove for fear of messing up. Beginner's mind is all about accepting that we don't know, and that it's perfectly normal and usual not to know. And it's okay to mess up. Here's a reading by Laurel Mendez. Creation is messy, inconvenient, and often uncooperative. Take a look at the cosmos. Go ahead, close your eyes, and imagine the stars. When you do, forget the Franz Joseph Haydn spacious firmament. His images are far too tidy. See the real mess the universe made of itself 14 billion years ago. All of creation is still trying to clean that up. It's called the Big Bang, not the Grand Coalescence, for a reason. Mistakes were made, probably, and incorporated into the whole anyway. And wonders never cease. Here we are still muddling along 14 billion years after the fact. Now open your eyes and look around you. You are surrounded by the most astounding, miraculous wonder of all, each other, community, life ongoing, caring about life ongoing. So it is, so it shall be, because we do care.
Thanks, Larry. From what I know about mothering and motherhood, which I admit isn't all that much, those last lines might describe it pretty darn well. Life ongoing, caring about life ongoing, and just muddling along. Muddling along. Does that resonate with you? We've already delved into the beginning of creation and the everything seed that contained within it all that is. And we've heard a song about roots and wings accompanied by some lovely images of gardens and new plants. On this Mother's Day, we can't help but think of birth and tending, seeds and germination, learning and growing, and ongoingly muddling through. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to begin with a rather esoteric theological proposition, one put forward by feminist theologian Catherine Keller in her book, Face of the Deep, A Theology of Becoming, which was published in 2003. Because her work concerns interpretation of the creation story at the beginning of the book of Genesis, it naturally follows, at least to me, that I would share her thoughts with you today. Now, some of you may know that the most used interpretation of the first 3 verses of the Hebrew Bible suggests that God created the universe out of nothing, ex nihilo. And it's based in this common translation from the original Hebrew. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Keller contends persuasively that since the original text actually uses the plural form for deity, meaning that God was not alone at the time of creation, and since the original text also translates better as beginning again rather than in the beginning, well, put as plainly as possible, she purports that creation happened ex profundi, out of chaos, not out of nothing. Creation out of deep waters, a churning, complicating darkness, essentially out of a muddle. Now, don't worry, that's about all the theologizing I'm going to do today, except to say that perhaps some of our angst about creativity and our personal agency to create is connected to this erroneous ideal that is so often lifted up, that a true creator pulls things out of nothing. What if instead we are always creating out of chaos, out of deep waters? We were there at some beginning or some re-beginning, a part of what some call the chaosmos. We were there along with all the stars and the planets, all the rocks and oceans, the plants and animals and people. So doesn't it follow that we would have some innate ability to have a beginner's mind? More, if you're a process theology person like me, then you'll get it that we are always at some beginning, that each moment is a becoming, a coming into being, a moment that passes away with the next moment and the next becoming. So again, how could we not operate from a beginner's mind? And hence today's message title, Born with a Beginner's Mind. Now, you probably know about this concept. It's a concept from Zen Buddhism called Shoshin. It refers to having an attitude of openness, eagerness, a lack of preconceptions. I mean, what a combination of great attributes. Openness, so important to Unitarian Universalists, yet so elusive. Eagerness, a quality of energy that's often bred out of us in deference to patience and decorum, and a lack of preconceptions. And now there is a doozy of a challenge. And yet I believe we can do it. We are born with a beginner's mind. Now you don't need me to do what Google can very easily do for you. That is, give you all kinds of information about what beginner's mind is and how to cultivate it and the benefits it promises. I recommend that if this is something that interests you, that you want to know more about it, go do the research. But still, in order to go further, I do need to lay just some basic groundwork so that we can go on from here. First, if it's helpful, here are some ways to think about what beginner's mind is. It's looking at everything as if it's brand new, that you've never experienced it before. It's approaching life with curiosity and wonder. It's letting go of assumptions and expectations. It's being open to possibility. It's keeping and holding on to a don't know mind. And what are the benefits? Well, we're likely to have better experiences and better relationships. It adds fun and playfulness to life. It reduces anxiety. It helps us to find joy in learning. It fosters deeper gratitude and greater wonder. And it unleashes more creativity. Now I'll leave it to you to go learn more about practicing beginner's mind, because it does take practice. What I want to talk about today is how a beginner's mind changes us and how it could change this community, this faith. There's a Buddhist wisdom tale that you may have heard called A Cup of Tea. It goes like this. Once a long time ago, there was a wise Zen master. People from far and near would seek his counsel and ask for his wisdom, and many would come and ask him to teach them, enlighten them in the way of Zen. He seldom turned anyone away. And one day, an important man came to visit the master and said this to him, "I have come today to ask you to teach me about Zen. Open my mind to enlightenment." And the tone of the important man's voice was one of someone who's used to getting his own way. Now the Zen master smiled and said that they should discuss it over a cup of tea. And when the tea came, the master gave his visitor a cup. He then poured and poured and poured until the tea rose to the brim and began to spill over the table and finally onto the robes of the wealthy man. And the visitor shouted at him, "Enough! You're spilling tea all over the place. Can't you see the cup is full?" And the master stopped pouring and smiled at his guest. "You are like this cup of tea, so full that nothing more can be added. Come back to me when the cup is empty. come back to me with an empty mind. Now, the first time I heard this story years ago, I thought it was about a pompous, rich know-it-all, about someone unwilling to learn anything new from a master, and I set it aside as not all that meaningful for me. But it came back to me while preparing for today, and I'm looking at it a little differently, maybe with a little more of a beginner's mind. What if I don't read it assuming its intention, and I explore it a little more? What if the master and the visitor are not meant to represent actual people, but rather are representations of states of being? What if I am there in all the elements of this story? The visitor, the master, the cup, the tea, just as all those things exist in me. And what if out of all of these questions, out of these complexity, I could create new meaning, at least for today, for this moment? You know, you've heard probably too often that I'm working on this pesky lecture I'm giving in Canada on Friday about being open-minded. And it surprises me, although it shouldn't if I'm really practicing beginner's mind, because surprise is maybe something of a preconception. Still, it surprises me to find the overlap and the connection between open-mindedness and beginner's mind. We can get so tied up about being open. What if open-mindedness were as simple as practicing beginner's mind? Of course, I know it's not simple, but I think, for me anyway, thinking about it that way makes it feel achievable. Anytime we feel like we know something, or that we're the expert, we're leaning into closed-mindedness. Our cups are full. We come to that seat of learning preloaded with all the information we need. Being open-minded means coming with that empty cup, willing to receive. Now, I'm not talking about just intellectual knowledge here. I'm talking about being willing to change our opinions, about being receptive to learning about the other, about looking for ways to question what we already believe to be true, about looking at our ways of being, how we function, how we operate, our culture with fresh eyes. Because without an attitude of openness and eagerness, combined with a lack of preconceptions, we simply reinforce things staying as they are. In the words of William Ernst, if everything I ever perceived is based on what I already know, how will I perceive anything new? And if I never perceive anything new, how will I change? How will I grow? Let's just breathe into that for just a moment. If we were truly to live into the eighth principle, we can't both journey toward spiritual wholeness through actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions, and keep things just as they are. Learning and not changing are mutually exclusive. How might we come to this conundrum, this muddle, with beginner's mind? Unitarian Universalists have a long, proud history of affirming our right and privilege to use reason to create meaning. Too often, though, reason has been limited to what we can do with our brains, what we know. Now, by my lights, reason has come to mean to also describe how we choose to move through the world emotionally and spiritually and physically. Reason really refers to how we decipher and know things, and that's not only through our brains. And if you're able to buy my premise this morning, reason might also guide us to empty our minds, our cups, not to fill us. Reason has been too often employed for intellectual hubris. But I think it could also lead us to choose to foster intellectual humility. I think in this muddle, we often get overwhelmed by creatio ex profundis. There is so much stuff that we feel a need to sort out and control, to get our ducks in that ever desirable row. We want to be experts at our lives, to be know-it-alls. I know this all too well. It's my own personal default. I want to be perceived as someone who's smart and knows things. And sometimes that means I'm simply not open to seeing what I don't know. But what if not knowing, living with a beginner's mind, right down in the muddle, is actually the place out of which great creation occurs? What if it is here in the beginning again and again and again that new and wonderful things come into being? I'm going to close with a lovely poem written by my colleague, Reverend Peter Friedrichs. He writes of the blank page, which is just another kind of empty cup, I think. It's called Each New Day. Why is this blank page staring back at me, mocking like an affliction and fraught with dread? How can it hold such sway, this simple emptiness? Might it instead be a gift left on my doorstep overnight, waiting to be broken open with the dawn? A present, eager to emerge if only I had the sense to hold the paper over a candle flame, its lemon juice message appearing like magic, clear and true. Each new day is like this. Pure air, devoid of density, but for the weight of our own invention. Birds do not worry the morning or fret the rising sun. They wait, expectant, until its rays kiss their downy necks, and then stretching, they turn to face the day and sing. You have a creation story inside of you, and you were born with a beginner's mind. So let there be light, an empty cup, a blank page, each new day, change, and a song. May it ever be so. Amen.
Peace action our Split the Plate partner for May, advocates for Native Americans, women, ethnic minorities, gender-oppressed people in Wisconsin and beyond. As part of a worldwide coalition, Peace Action supports human rights movements locally, nationally, and abroad. Their long-term goal? To find a path to end global conflict. As citizens of the planet, they focus on the challenges for us all. Here at UUCW, Split the Plate is our way to fulfill our UU values and reach out to the community. If you are participating virtually, go to our website, UUCW, click on Donate, and select Split the Plate from the menu. Or you can text or email your donation today using the information found here. Thank you for your generosity to Peace Action Wisconsin. We will now gratefully accept your offering.
Marcus Liefert wrote these words of blessing for those who create, which, by the way, is all of us. Blessed are the makers. O you who are makers, makers of beauty, of paintings and pottery and sculpture, blessed is the making. You who make with hearts and hands and minds, you who make out of breath and bones and blood human lives, blessed are the makers. Blessed are those who make us laugh, who make jokes and faces and toys. Blessed are those who make messes, who make trouble and friends, and when needed, make up. Blessed are those who make do, who make it last, make it work, make beds, and make time for others. Blessed are those who make love, who make out and make more and make mistakes. Blessed are those who make coffee and tea, who make conversation, who make meaning in the face of tragedy, who make merriment and awaken joy. Blessed are those who make peace, for they shall inherit the earth.
And now a lovely song to close our service and send you out into this Mother's Day. This song was written by Issei Barnwell. You may be familiar with it as sung by Sweet Honey in the Rock. It's in the Teal hymnal at number 1051, Why don't you open it and then let me give you some guidance. You'll see that it's spread over 4 pages. But if you look at the first page, right at where 1051 is, right below that, there's a couple of heavy bars with some dots to the left, or to the right, sorry. That means that's the beginning of a repeat. And so you go until you find the end of the repeat, which is in the second line, and that just means you repeat those 2 lines twice. So you get through that, and then there's another beginning of a repeat at the bottom of the right page, at the bottom of that first page. And then you have to go looking for the end of that repeat. And it's not till almost the bottom of the 3rd page, on the, like after the 4th line there. Well, no, after the 3rd line. See it? And that means you'll go back to the bottom of the 1st page and you sing again through the bottom of the 3rd page. And then you keep going, and then you come to the bottom of the 4th page, and then there's another repeat that you repeat again. So anyway, it's simple as that, right? So if you can't do it, just sway and hum and enjoy the music. It's a beautiful song. We are, please rise in body and or spirit.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
We are. I think I'm out of battery. Is it still working? It's red, okay. Here we are at the end of this special hour, hopefully feeling the blessings of having spent this time together. Maybe take a look around and just say a prayer of thanks for all those who made today possible, including our ushers, our greeters, and maybe those who helped make some coffee happen or tea happen after the service. Then offer a prayer of gratitude for our sweet beginner minds, our curiosity, our ability to create. This time together matters. It changes us. Our closing words are those of Susan Van Drieser. Let us sing the magic of imagination by which we know one another and learn the lives of eras gone by. Let us sing the magic of creation by which we build the world of our soul and teach its wisdom to others, young and old. Let us sing the magic of our lives together, holding and shaping by the movement of breath from heart to lung, all new life that is to come. So go now singing. Go now with magic in your fingertips and touch this world with life. Touch this world with creativity, love, and life. Blessed be. Ashe. Amen.